Welcome to the programme. Tonight, Adele Ferguson reveals more cases of neglect and mistreatment in childcare centres. Also coming up, market mayhem. The dollar plunges as global markets respond to Trump's tariffs. I'll be joined by the Shadow Treasurer, Angus Taylor. And we show you which cities and suburbs are the most unaffordable for renters. First, some of the country's largest childcare operators are named in damning documents the New South Wales government tried to keep hidden from the public. They detail cases of toddlers and babies being subjected to mistreatment. Tonight, reporter Adele Ferguson continues her investigation into the childcare industry.
Every day, almost 1.5 million children are dropped off at childcare. Parents trust they'll be safe and cared for. But behind closed doors, that trust is being broken. New evidence has come to light about what's happening in some centres, and it's far worse than anyone thought.
What you're being confronted with is just story after story of children being abused. There's one particular one that really sticks with me where an educator had used a child as a human mop. You know, a child had vomited and the educator had used him to wipe up his own vomit and then taken his pants off and rubbed his vomity pants in the kid's face. And to me, that was just a level of hatred for children.
New South Wales Greens MP Abigail Boyd used a powerful parliamentary order to obtain documents the New South Wales government fought hard to keep hidden. Documents that expose shocking and confronting incidents inside some centres between 2020 and 2024.
I think it's clear that the department just doesn't want people to know what's actually going on.
After a long battle, we finally got access to those secret New South Wales documents, and the evidence is damning. Case after case of sickening abuse and a regulator failing to do its job. The documents detail hundreds of disturbing cases, including babies and toddlers being forcibly dragged, pulled, kicked, and in some cases, sexual misconduct. Childcare giant Only About Children had an incident at its Rhodes Centre in Sydney's Inner West. An educator admitted to grabbing a child's face and kissing them on the lips in 2023.
I agreed that the interaction was inappropriate.
The regulator allowed the educator to remain in the sector. At its centre at Brookvale Mall, an educator admitted to using unreasonable force on babies in 2021.
I pushed their heads and bodies down into the mattress and I repeatedly put blankets over their heads. I patted them using excessive force.
The regulator allowed the educator to remain in the sector. At an affinity centre last August, CCTV captures an educator yanking a child up by the arm, swinging them around, then dropping them onto the floor. The regulator issued a breach notice. A family daycare centre had a machete and a crystalline substance on its premises. The centre kept operating. At a Pagewood centre, an educator admitted to inappropriate discipline.
I grabbed the child by the arm and then rocked the child roughly on my lap. This caused the child to sustain a dislocated elbow.
Only About Children told 7:30 safety, well-being and development of children were its highest priorities. It said it takes immediate action when it becomes aware of incidents. Affinity says the educator was terminated after an incident and its highest priority is ensuring safety.
It's with a real pit in my stomach that I go and read those documents. I wonder at what point you can't stomach that anymore, that there is just too much. Yeah, it's really horrible.
We can't identify this mum. We'll call her Sue. Her 4-year-old son was physically assaulted by a childcare worker in March 2022.
When my child came home, he was incredibly quiet, withdrawn.
Sue says the centre manager kept her in the dark, offering vague details and minimal information.
She assured me that my son was fine, nothing was wrong, and it was just a case of over-discipline. They just said it was involved an educator again. Their policies were all about their protection.
It was only after a witness filed a report that she realised something far more serious had gone on. It ended up in court, and that's when she saw the truth on CCTV. How did you react?
I was heartbroken for my son. Yeah.
What did you see?
The educator grabbed him around the arm and pulled him aggressively around the sandpit, dragging him. Then pushed him over next to a wall on the ground, and he was laying down, and she put her feet on top of him to stop him from moving, which caused the bruise on his back. Another educator saw this happen, and she ran over and grabbed him and started hugging him and telling him that it was going to be okay.
It must have been horrible to watch.
Yeah, it was. I could see other children were upset too. It wasn't just my son. They could see what was happening, and they were quite visibly upset. But no, it was horrific to see.
The Childcare Centre is owned by G8, a billion-dollar company which operates 21 brands.
Didn't feel that they cared at all. It was very much business, you know, as protecting their policies, protecting their assets, protecting their centres. That was all they cared about.
And so what happened to the educator? What happened with the court case?
12 months corrections order and around $500 of a fine.
Sue says G8 offered her money to support her son on the condition she never talked publicly about the incident. She refused.
I didn't want the money. I wanted the change in policies, the way they communicate with families, so that my situation and my son's situation wouldn't happen again.
G8 told 7:30 the educator was suspended, then terminated. It said the incident didn't impact any other children. The family was informed of the incident and offered G8's full support.
I would like to welcome you to the 2024 G8 National Conference. Give yourselves a big round of applause.
Underpinned by billions in government subsidies, private operators, including listed companies and private equity, control nearly 3/4 of long-day care, where profit often trumps care. If you needed any more proof our childcare system is broken, this is it. 7:30 can reveal that in 2024, despite thousands of breaches and serious incidents, the New South Wales regulator issued just 8 penalty infringement notices, totalling $1,760. While a small number of centres were cancelled, most cases ended with warnings. What does that say about the regulator?
I mean, that's just a joke, isn't it? You know, things like breaking kids' wrists and elbows, and add to that all of the stories of, you know, the centres that are understaffed, that have let children run out onto the road. The idea that there were 8 fines of a total of such a small amount, that's extraordinary. These documents show a picture of just continued breaches with continued inaction from the regulator.
The response of Deputy New South Wales Premier and Childcare Minister Prue Carr to letters from parents was also illuminating.
So this is correspondence where parents are, you know, telling in great detail what has happened, some really horrifying stories of abuse that their child has suffered through. They're telling the minister, this is what my child now does acting out at home after having experienced that abuse. And then months later, we have the minister responding. Clearly, this system is in crisis.
A spokesperson for Prue Carr told 7:30 complaints were referred to the regulator for investigation and the government is cooperating and working to release more documents. The New South Wales Early Childhood Education and Care Regulatory Authority said it investigates all allegations and complaints and takes action when child safety has been compromised, including banning people and cancelling centres.
I
I want change. You know, I think that the whole of Australia and Australia's children need change. We need daycares and educators that care about children's welfare, education, and not just organisations that care about the money, the budget, making a profit.
As